Good.
Alright, I'm going to talk to you guys today about something that is destroying your kids and it's making you fat. My name is Jeffery Burchett, and I'm talking, of course, about the television. Now, in complete disregard for what I just said, I'm going to tell you how to better purchase a television, and I'm not going to try to persuade you to not watch television. After listening to this speech today, you should be able to make a better decision on whether you want to buy a plasma, LCD, or LED, which are the three main televisions on the market today. First off, I'm going to tell you kind of basic things between all the television styles. They will all have what's called a refresh rate, which is going to be about 60 hertz. 120 hertz is going to be better, and there is one above that, but it doesn't really matter because the human eye can't perceive faster than that. They'll all be flat panels. All these are flat panel style TVs. They'll have smart TV models and stuff like that. They'll all have 1080p, which is the best pixelation you can get in a TV. You can get better, but there's no source that is better, so 1080p is the best. Just remember that. They'll all have HDMI component composite inputs and everything, so you don't have to worry about that either. They'll all brag about like 16 million colors and all that and everything. And according to Glenn Ellert from hypertextbook.com, the human eye can only see up to approximately 10 million colors. So at some point, the 16 million is arbitrary. It doesn't really matter anymore. Alright, the first one I'm going to talk about is the plasma televisions. And according to plasmatelevisions.org, the main cons to the plasma televisions are burn-in, which is a image that burns into the screen, and after the image goes away, you still see that image, and that's been one of the main problems with plasma televisions, and that's one of the things that people jump to the most when they decide they really don't want a plasma television. Next is high energy usage. Plasma televisions, of the three, definitely burns the most energy. I have one at home that costs me approximately $8 every month to run, just in energy costs. Because they use up so much energy, they do run pretty hot. They're like noticeably hotter. You put your hand in front of it and you can almost warm a room with one of them just running. And they are very heavy. There have been some occasions where kids have been playing around and pulled on these televisions and they fall down on top of them and actually cause serious injury. I had my 50-inch plasma at home, weighs over 80 pounds, so could be very dangerous. And plus, a lot of people hang these on the walls, and 80 pounds is a lot to be bolting into your drywall. The pros to it are they're generally considered to have the best picture quality. I mean, that's purely opinion, but the general census is they do have the best picture quality. They also have the best black levels, which means that the blacks look more black rather than gray, which is a larger problem with LCDs and LEDs. They have the best view angle, meaning you can stand further off to one side and still see a clear picture. And it has a high gloss picture because it's all glass, which generally gives it a better look also. And according to David Kratzmeyer from CNET.com, they are the best to use in dark rooms, mainly because of their better black levels. So in a dark lit room, you don't see a lot of gray. It's very black. Next, I'm going to tell you about the LCD, or liquid crystal display televisions. According to Danny Brer and Pat Hurley from dummies.com, they say that the cons to this are, of course, the lower black levels. They'll seem a little more gray than what a plasma television would. And they also have a lower view angle because they're not made of the glass. The way they're designed, you just can't stand so far off to the side before it starts to kind of fade on you and look kind of hazy. And you also have lower brightness levels with LCDs, meaning the backlight's just not as bright. So sometimes that's problems in well-lit rooms where it'll just seem kind of dim and you can't brighten it up anymore. But the pros to the LCDs are, for starters, the lightweight. It's easier to mount on your wall, and you'll feel better with it up there without it ripping out or falling down. And if your kids happen to pull it on top of them, they'll probably still get hurt, but they'll still be all right. They're not going to die from it. Less energy consumption, that's a huge one in this day and age with all our green technologies and everything. Having less energy consumption is always a good thing. The cooler running temperature, you can let them run any time of the year, in the middle of the summer, not have to worry about it counteracting your cooling bill and all that. And there's little chance of burning. It could happen, but you have to leave it on there for a long, long time in order to get the burning, but it's really not all that possible. And lastly, I'm going to tell you about the LED TVs, or light emitting diode TVs. These actually use an LCD display, so you get a lot of the same pros and cons with them. But the main cons to it is basically the same as the LED TVs. But the pros are it has all the benefits of the LCD TVs, but it is still lighter weight than the LCD TVs, especially as you start getting into the larger displays and everything. So you won't have, as big a TV. It's going to be a lot better. And according to EECA energy-wise, they generally use less energy, especially in larger sets. So the smaller sets are pretty comparable to the LCDs, but as you get into the LEDs, you start to save a lot more energy, which in turn saves you a lot more money. And they also have the white light backlight. That's what the LEDs do. And that's more of a natural lighting, which is easier on the human eye, which is always a good thing when you're trying to watch something that can be strange to humans. And so they have a list of pros and cons for all these style TVs that are readily available today. You have the plasma, which is bulky and inefficient, but at the same time has probably the best picture quality of all. You have the LCD, which is lighter and more efficient, but suffers from a little more picture degradation. And LED, which is much like the LCD, but lighter and more efficient. Based on this list, you should be able to go out and